Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I'd like to ask Buddy Weber to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. We are going to dedicate this meeting tonight to a former town board member, Robert, I'm not going to say this right, Cadwallader, whose son has actually come down to the meeting tonight to speak about his dad. He was very, very beloved. I never had the opportunity to meet him, but everyone I've spoken to in this town, from Jim Myers, Gary Cott, Rita, if you knew him, apparently you loved him. And I'm actually sorry I missed that opportunity. A little bit from me, and then I'm going to turn this over to his son, Jeff. His first home in Stanford was a log cabin that he built with his wife, Judy. He loved many things, but above all, he loved his family and his town. He and Judy traveled the world to watch whales, free dive, descend far underwater in a submarine, and tour Europe, not in a submarine. He was an engineer. He created at least 10 patents for his employer, IBM. He received this is just stunning, he received not the first heart transplant, but the first one that took. So he had it in his 60s, and it must have been a very strong heart that he got, because it was after the transplant that he designed and built a new house at Time After Time Farm on Bull's Head Road. And I believe that was the same heart he had when he passed at 92?
Yes.
92?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a miracle. I mean, what a thing. So, Jeff, would you please come and...
Where do I, here?
Yeah, if you speak into Mike, then it'll get recorded for posterity.
So, pretty amazing. My dad was 92. What you're hearing about is the second half of his life. The first half of his life, married to my mother, had 3 daughters and myself, son. Unfortunately, my middle sister passed away. She got killed in a car accident. Very devastating for him. But what a father. This guy worked so hard at creating such a happy life for all of us, from having a house on Cedar Hill that he built by himself when he started at IBM, to creating a hunting camp in Newcomb, New York, in the Upper Adirondacks, which we ended up turning into a ski cabin, which was a mile in the woods with no running water, no electricity, bunk beds, but we went in there every single weekend and out, and he engineered every single step of that. And it worked, and we did that for many, many years. So it's pretty amazing. His patents, I think you have to go more in the 100, because I was going through some of his paperwork, and it's like this. And those are through IBM, but he designed and designed and designed. And luckily, he worked with Roy Knapp. I don't know if you've ever heard that name in the area, but very, very accomplished carpenter. Amazing builder. If you take a look at either of his houses, you just stand there and you go, really? It's just pretty amazing. So I could go on and on and on, but you just have to understand that the man was just a terrific guy. He adored his job here. I think he was instigator in getting the town garage built. I believe that was his claim to fame in city council, but he really enjoyed his time here. My favorite time with my dad, I would come up and work with him, the treehouse project, this house or this house, and I would be driving the truck, and he'd just sit there and tell story after story about the Navy, about IBM. He worked on Apollo 13. He helped design some of the circuitry and the boards that went into that machine so they would all fit. He actually is credited for doubling the speed of computers in the 70s by just looking at this thing and go, why don't you turn that over? So, and it worked, okay? So he actually was interviewed by one of the newscasters of the time on NBC News. So it was pretty amazing. In the end, I could keep on going, but I think you all get the idea of what a great guy he was. And I want to thank everybody here for inviting me. Samantha, who is the daughter of Judy, they got married. She was 13 years old. She asked me to read this. And I just want to explain to you before I do this that my dad requested to not have a ceremony, to not have an obituary, and I am so happy that I found my way here, so I could kind of just reiterate that he said that. and that what we're planning on doing is having a birthday party for him in August, okay? So it's going to be somewhere in this area. We're probably going to announce it in the obituary column at some point, and then we're going to have another party and campsite up in Vermont. You're all welcome to come up there too. Bring your tents. I've got 13 acres in the woods, so, and your tick medicine. So Sam asked me to read this. It's short. Here it is. There's so much to say about Bob. Bob came into my life when I was just 13 years old, and he played an important role in who I have become today. He listened when I needed him to. He supported me when I took the new challenges, and he taught me how to live a life full of adventure, uncertainty, and joy. No problem was too big, no dream too large, no idea too small or silly. He was a warm and welcome soul with an inquisitive mind who loved to share his knowledge and experience with others. If you wanted to learn, he would teach. He taught me how to sail, how to drive a stick shift, how to build a rock wall the right way, and even how to make a level using buckets of water and a hose. But most of all, while watching him, I grew up. I learned a value of experience living. That life was to offer. Oh, sorry about that. Both good and the bad, with fortitude, gratitude, love, and grace. Samantha. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Rita, the roll call, please.
Wendy Burton,
Yes.
Ann Aaron,
Yes.
Margaret Fallon,
Yes.
Nathan Virtue absent, Corey Clanahan.
Yes.
Okay. Town liaison reports. Corey.
So we had the planning board meeting last week. Let me flip to the right spot here. There was and they were looking to basically add an addition to their old barn to make it an apartment building and to adjust the lot lines for an incoming resident whose family already lives here, and her grandson and her daughter. And they were, at the moment, all sharing the same place, but they approved the amendment, so it looks like she's moving into town, and she spoke very highly of the area and how much she loved it, and that was what they had.
And
Me? Fire Commission meeting on April 18th. The bulk of the discussion really of the evening was about the ambulance district that we're looking to implement, which will be discussed shortly. So rather than get into all the nitty-gritty, we'll just wait for, I see Dennis came in, so
yes.
we'll let Dennis explain.
Margaret.
The CAC, the Conservation Advisory Commission, has had 2 successful events since our last meeting. They had the roadside cleanup. Thank you to everyone who came. And I was just looking, Curtis is going to be mad at me, I can't remember the exact number. He had the roads. He calculated the mileage.
I thought it was 40 miles.
40 miles?
And 40.
It was pretty
Wow.
extraordinary. So many people. So thank you to all the people who came. Thank you to Roosters for hosting us, the businesses that donated coffee and donuts. It was really a great turnout, and hopefully the roads look better as you're driving around. And then there was also a walk with the pros through the Rec Commission on the very, very rainy day. Some hardy souls came out. But there's lots of other things planned. If anyone's interested, the Stanford CAC is on Instagram, and that's where they post any kind of environmental outreach or talks or volunteer opportunities.
Do you have an update on when the sign might be ready for Gary, the Gary Love?
I don't. In fact, I meant to email you back. I don't think that they realized that they were in charge of that.
I thought they wanted to.
Okay, I'll check with them.
Because if they don't, we'll handle it from here, but I thought they specifically wanted to.
Okay, I'll double check.
Okay, my reports are lengthy, I'm afraid. The financial reports, the board received 2 payroll verification reports, as well as my bank reconciliation and supervisor's report. Okay, there's a lot to talk about. The revised comprehensive plan, along with the Word document that itemizes the changes that the board proposed to the plan we received from the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, they're now posted on the home page of the website. They can be downloaded from there. We're having hard copies. They should be delivered any day. We're allowed to have 10, but we're only getting 3 to begin with, because after the public hearings, there may be changes to what we have proposed. So we're saving the final ones to see if they have to make any adjustments after we've heard public comment. And those copies, there will be one in Rita Mary's office, one at the library. Climate Smart Task Force met for the first time in person. We were reviewing the scorecard for points to become bronze certified Climate Smart community. Once we become a bronze certified, it becomes easier to get grant money. It kind of is a gateway to more grants. So there was a subcommittee formed. This was like an initial kind of getting organized meeting. A subcommittee is researching teaching about composting. Projects the town has already started include LED lights, winterizing our front doors, making the building more energy efficient. It was a very, very enthusiastic meeting, and it was really nice to know that there was a wide spread of ages of people that have gotten involved in this Climate Smart Task Force. Again, I sound like a broken record, but the level of volunteerism in town is just stunning. ZBA met last night. There was a complicated variance for property on 6 Old Northampton Way, which involves renovation to an existing non-conforming house that was built in 1790. There will be a public hearing about that on July 14th. And then there was a special use permit for property at 133-141 Shelley Hill Road involving accessory apartment and a carport, and that also, there'll be a public hearing for that on June 14th. The ZBA makes site visits.
No, let it play, let it play.
That was a little bit of a Shokin farewell. Pardon me. They make site visits for all proposed variances, and letters go out to all the neighbors who are impacted. And then finally, Ben Rafton, who sits on the ZBA, came down from the ZBA and asked for clarification on a letter he received from our code enforcement officer. He was asking about clarification about the enforceability of the recommendations set forth in the letter, and a lively discussion ensued. I would like to congratulate Rita Mary Bell and Doreen Brown. They came in 8th out of the top 10 municipalities for selling the most habitat and access stamp sales.
All right, Rita!
Oh, Rita has she's got a velvet glove, but she's a hard seller. Thank you, Yes. Let's see. On the county level, this is a bit weighty, but the supervisors and the mayors had a Zoom call. We were notified, I think, the morning that we were Zooming, with County Executive Bill O'Neill about an action that Mayor Eric Adams is taking to shelter asylum seekers in Hudson Valley counties, regardless of whether the municipalities have the capacity to house them, take care of their medical needs, etc. Letters went out to Senator Schumer, Gillibrand, Congressman Lawler, and Pat Ryan was contacted as well. County Executive O'Neill is prepared to issue a state of emergency order if Dutchess County hotels and motels are approached by New York City. And then there was a follow-up late this afternoon, which I just pulled off the computer. The town of Newburgh in Orange County is reporting a bus of approximately 30 migrants arrived around 10:30 this morning. They're experiencing protesters on both sides of the issue at the destination hotel both yesterday and today. It's getting messy, and I don't know what else to say. I have no idea what the Dutchess County Council on, or Commission on Human Rights, what their position is on any of this. They were not on the Zoom call with a lot of the other departments from the county. These are people that came seeking sanctuary, and they're being moved around, shuffled around like checkers on a checkerboard. So it doesn't seem like it's a pretty picture at all, and I'll just stay as abreast and keep the news, keep y'all informed in the newsletter. But it's, what do they call it, the situation that is unfolding. Just a quick follow-up on the housing mandate in the governor's budget that was discussed last month. The governor withdrew the mandate from the budget. There was a tremendous amount of lobbying on the parts of the towns in New York State to stay out of our zoning and to let us deal with our own housing, because we believe in home rule, and so she pulled that out of the budget. The highway has been cleaning road shoulders, and if you want to get a really good look at a beautiful road shoulder, you can just take a drive down Layton Road. There's acres of more road now because the shoulders have been cleaned up. Burdick Park is going to meet for the first time since November next Wednesday, and they're working on a master plan for the park. And if anyone is a gardener and has interest in helping out, that was not me. Charlie Shaw would love to hear from you, because they're losing a committee member to one due to health and one due to just overwork. So if someone's a good planner for public spaces and wants to sink their teeth into Dot and Irv Burdick Park, you can contact me and I'll pass you along to Charlie Shaw. But that would be great. And then the very last thing is, and I believe I might have some interest from someone in the community to get involved in the Veterans Outreach Program I've been trying to kickstart for 3 years. And Sandy Bilski, who's not here tonight, passed along information on the Honor Flight Program, which I knew someone who did this years ago, and it's a program that where a vet is honored and flown down to Washington, D.C., and shown all the monuments, all of the monuments to veterans, and they're wined and dined, and then they're flown home the same day. So I would love it if we could get Stanford involved in that program, and if I do have a volunteer who's willing to help me do some legwork, then I think it would be a great addition to what we're trying to do for our veterans. And I think that's all I have to say. Yeah, so now I'll open privilege of the floor. This is a time where if you have a question for the board, or if you just have a statement you want to make, just go up to the microphone. Okay, Jack, hold on. Go up to the microphone and give your name and address to Rita Mary. Please remember, try to talk for 2 minutes, and then if you still have something more to say, there's a second privilege of the floor at the end of the meeting, so you could stay and keep talking. So, Jack.
Hi, Jack Evans, Bull's Head Road. Our town June 3rd vet event is very well planned, complete with a band. Our most important issue here is participation. We would like to see everybody that can possibly come show up and be part of it. Donations and all money go to MHA and Vet to Vet to support the men and women who have actually put their lives on the line to keep America a free and a safe country. Let them show that Stanford cares. Thank you.
John. Jim?
Good evening, board members and fellow community members. I'd like to give this to each board member.
Oh, be careful.
I didn't realize there was a step there.
There's a step there.
Us old guys. This is
Thank you, sir.
follow on to a complaint and request that I made 2 years ago. And it's gotten to the point where it's, I have one for the town attorney.
Thank you.
Now, 2 months ago.
Name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jim King, 176 Charwell Drive.
Thank you.
Sorry. 2 months ago at the town meeting, I reported the creation and subsequent expansion of a full-blown construction operation that was being operated at 158 Charwell Drive in violation of our zoning laws. 2 years ago, I really complained about this construction facility. I wrote a letter letter of concern and complaint to the building inspector and the supervisor. Shortly after I wrote this board appointed the owner of the property at 158 Charwell Drive to the zoning board of appeals in anticipation, obviously, of problems. This is not only a political thing, it's not a community-minded action. Obviously, the fox is watching the hen house. That being said, allowing blatant commercial activity in a rural residentially zoned area of our town is not only wrong, but sets a very bad precedent for many reasons, of which I iterated many times in letters to this board. What I've just submitted to the board is I am asking the town of Stanford board to issue a formal cease and desist order on the commercial and contracting business known as Ratchin Landscaping Company operating at 158 Charwell Drive, which is zoned RR Rural Residential. I'm asking this for the following reasons. This is not a small mom and pop lawn mowing business with a couple of piles of mulch and a John Deere lawnmower in the yard. This is a full-blown, noisy, commercial construction site with tractors, trailers, dump trucks operating 6 or 7 days a week in a residential area. Wrong. 2, the building department made a mistake authorizing this commercial activity and is God bless you. And is covering up the error by erroneously labeling this operation as a contractor's yard. Contractor's yard is a definition of terms for word definition, not a schedule of use. However, there's no provision, no matter how you cut it, for a contractor's yard in rural residentially zoned areas of the town without a variance or special permit. Now, on the information I gave the board, each of these, by the way, I had these reviewed by an attorney. Each of these items, I said attached, see attached District Schedule of Use Regulations 164.8 Article 3. If you look at that, and anybody can look at this, by the way, by going online and go to Stanford, New York zoning, and it pops right up. I provided all the listing, all the usage that are allowed in all the zoning areas, and you will not find anything about a contractor's yard. The definition of contractor's yard and usage. Well, a contractor's yard is defined as any space, whether inside or outside a building, used just for the storage or keeping of construction supplies, materials, equipment, etc.,
machinery or vehicles or parts which are in active use by a construction contractor. There's no construction company allowed in rural residential areas. That's why we have zoning laws, to protect the residents. You got residential people and you have business. If you want to move next to a business, so be it. 3 rather. Violation of the ordinance, sound and noise, 56-2. If you look in there, noise. The clanging of the back of a dump truck, and you've all heard it because we live in an area that we see in construction sites. At 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning, that's just not called for in a residential area, but it happens daily. Violation of the general performance standards, does not conform to the standards of use. 164-15. If you look in there, it gives you the usage, and this is obviously non-conforming. If it's non-conforming, it requires a variance. Violation of the application of building permits. There are, well, last month I asked you to visit the site. I don't know if you did or not, but if you did, you saw that there are many outbuildings there, sizable buildings. One of them is as big as the owner's house. None of them have building permits. I know that because the building inspector told me they weren't necessary. However, in our zoning law, it says you have to have a zoning permit. Violation of certificate of occupancy, 9619A. Well, if it doesn't have a building, if it doesn't have a permit, obviously it doesn't have an occupancy inspection. There's no electrical inspection, no building inspection, no plumbing inspection, any of these buildings, but they're in operation. Termination of certain uses and/or structures, 164-44, gives you, the board, the right for a cease and desist. States that non-conforming structures out of character with the zoning district it is located in and causes a depreciation of value of other property in the district should be terminated. Property adjacent to it has gone to your assessor and had his assessment changed because of the location of this property. It's wrong. It's been wrong for 2 years. I've been bringing it to people's attention. Now, legally, I'm asking you to do something about it, please. It is a violation of the zoning laws that you people are well aware of. And if you are not, everything you need to know is in the packet that I gave to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry if I exceeded my time. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay then, you'll have a chance later if you change your mind. I would like, so I'm going to close the privilege of the floor. I would like to make a few additions to the agenda, which I would then like to have approved. I'm just going to call them A, B, C, and D. A is to appoint Lou Cassiano as the head of the Office of Emergency Management. B is to set dates for a public hearing in regard to the ambulance district. C, I will talk briefly about a culvert an emergency culvert that is needed at Hicks Hill Road and Bull's Head Road, where the road is pretty much collapsed. And D, I just would like to talk a little bit about the Dutchess County Mobile Health Unit that we're going to have in the lower parking lot on Community Day, and I just want to make a motion for the board to approve its placement there. So with those amendments, I would make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So, our first order of new business is, we've invited, what is your actual title? Are you
Veteran Service Officer.
Veteran Service Officer from Dutchess County, from the Dutchess County Veteran Services Office to speak to us about the programs that they have to offer for veterans. And this is Kevin Hathorn. Thank you for coming tonight.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for having me. I usually speak without a microphone, but I guess since we're recording this, I need to use it.
Yes, sir.
It's okay. We are located on Dutchess Turnpike, which is renamed Route 44. We're right across from the Civil Armory. We're right inside the town of Pleasant Valley. And a doctor, I don't even remember the podiatrist's name, donated the building to the county, and it's got a Sportsman's Association in Suite 1, the Veteran Services Office in Suite 2, MHA and Vet to Vet in Suite 3, and we're waiting on Suite 4 occupancy. Now, a little bit, tiny bit of history on me. I'm going to go about 3 minutes. I was in the Navy from 68 to 72. I was in the aviation Navy. I was a plane captain on the Saratoga aircraft carrier. At the age of 22, I was in charge of a $7 million aircraft, which by today's standards is kind of small. But anyhow, I was 22 and I could do all that. And I told the pilot when it was okay to take off. And the government trained me like crazy for 2 years. Unfortunately, they did not do the same for our veterans returning from Vietnam. Well, our veterans who left for Vietnam as well. They had pretty much a minimum amount of training. But when they came back, and I believe it's because of the media, they came back to a hostile country. They haven't felt comfortable until there were a number of Vietnam War Veterans Memorial commemoration ceremonies. I held one in Wappinger last year, and that was March 29th. Another one was held in Newburgh I believe in March. And our job as the VSOs is to take all veterans, young, old, and in between, and help them. A lot of veterans, you've seen on TV, the veterans who come back from Iraq or Afghanistan or Vietnam or Korea, and they don't want to go to the VA for a number of reasons. It's government. They're tired of the government. However, the government's got an awful lot of money. We know that. But what we don't know is they've got a bucket full of money that they want to give to veterans. However, they don't want to get ripped off. They want people to prove that they've got these disabilities because of yada, yada, yada. Now, one of the yadas is Agent Orange. My brother out in California is 83. I'm going to go out and see him next weekend. And I asked his wife if I know that he served Brown Water Navy in the rivers and the whatever. So I know that his clothing was orange. I know that ships offshore were orange. Guys on those ships, they were Blue Water Navy. That Agent Orange traveled a bunch. So the government, I'm not sure which president it was, but I know that President Trump did a lot for it, recognized Agent Orange as being really, really critical to people's health. Now, the PACT Act came along. Again, I'm not sure who's responsible for it, but it really doesn't matter. There are some things called presumptives, and they are presumed to be the result of Agent Orange or burn pits or just ordinary toxics. Like, for instance, when you have one toxic example is Camp Lejeune. The water there is toxic. It affects people young and old, families, not service members solely. Okay, so what our job as a Veteran Service Office is, and I've given this to the board members, and I didn't know how many people we were going to have here, so I didn't bring enough of these. Dutchess County Veteran Service Offices promotes the interests and welfare of veterans, their dependents, and survivors. We help to enhance their quality of life through counseling, claims assistance, education, and advocacy by obtaining federal, state, and local benefits to which they may be entitled. Most people don't know what veterans are entitled to. The VA doesn't even know. You go to Castle Point and you ask 5 people something, and you'll probably get either between 3 and 6 answers. One thing the government tries to do is they try and confuse people by moving offices. I know I was the wayfinder there for a while, and I had to figure the place out before I could find other people's way. However, our job and the job of other veterans agencies is to help veterans find out about all their benefits, and also get them to admit that they might have PTSD, or they might have one knee that is really failing because of a bad hip. Well, those are all presumptives, and they're really provable. So what we are preaching, and I'm speaking for Adam Roche as well. He's the director. And if you've ever seen Adam, you'll never forget him. He's about this big. Well, all right, this big. And he's a gentle giant, and although he says he doesn't like to talk, he can talk your ear off and make sense, and you'll remember everything. Somebody here mentioned volunteerism. I think that's a really wonderful thing that you've got so much. I'm in the town of Wappinger. I was the town of Wappinger deputy supervisor because when I ran for office, the town board, and lost, I came in second, which was okay because that let me free to do the veteran stuff. And I didn't have to go to school to learn how to be a council member. So when the town supervisor was reelected his first time, he found me and he wanted me to be his deputy because he has a vision that is everlasting for a cannon in front of the town hall, something to show the veterans that we are veteran-centric. I put up banners. I offer banners, hometown heroes banners, much as what you see around here. I've got about 150 of them on different roads in Wappinger. They're $200 a piece. Other towns charge similar or different. I allow the veteran on one side and him and his wife on the other side, which is really cool. The reason I did that, a bunch of reasons. I want to honor veterans, but I also want people to drive through Wappinger and feel really good about it. Look up at those banners and see the kid who was, they don't know it, but he was only 17 when he took that picture in full battle gear when he was in Iraq or he was in Vietnam. People feel really good. I'm always getting compliments on that. I wanted to talk about our grand opening. Our grand opening was featured a few Fridays ago, and it was fantastic. I wish all of you had been there because there was free food. Well, that's not the reason. There were shoulders to rub. Sue Serino was there. I love Sue. I've known her for years. A little side story real fast. I was down in D.C. In February and March to go for the DAV because we were having a midwinter conference or something. I went and listened to the director of the VA, and we told him that we didn't have enough transportation for veterans. We didn't have enough people working at Castle Point. Turns out that they're underpaid, and now they're on a hiring spree. But the creme de la creme of my visit to D.C. was I was outside one of the office buildings, and I was waiting for a ride back to the hotel over in Arlington, and I saw Mark Molinaro. I couldn't remember whether he was a senator or a representative, and I come to find out, yeah, he's a representative, but what do you yell out? Representative. So I just said kind of loud, Molinaro. Well, he was about 15 feet away, and he turns and he looks, Kevin! So he says, can you come on over to the Capitol building? I said, no, we're waiting for a ride back to the hotel. We got a conference to go to. It was awesome. It was really cool. I enjoy that. I'm roaming. I'm all over the place. Our services, the PACT Act, I mentioned that before. That has to do with Korea, believe it or not, Vietnam, and it has to do with Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Thailand. If you look it up online, you'll see what the PACT Act encompasses. You come to see us and we'll explain it. If anybody has served in the service and you walk funny because your hip hurts and you can point to something that happened in the service, that's kind of key. It's got to be service connected. If you have PTS, if you can't sleep at night, sleep apnea or something like that, you got diabetes, you got GERD, all of that could be related to the PACT Act, could be related to PTS. Agent Orange, I believe that's 22 things that are related to Agent Orange. So what we want to do is we want to make it so that veterans want to come and see us. They're not taking money away from anybody. They don't have to go to Castle Point. We're in Pleasant Valley. They can come and see us. Talk about Camp Lejeune. A whole bunch of sicknesses, illnesses, and whatever came from that water. Exposure to Agent Orange, I've already talked about. The Persian Gulf hazards, the burn pits. You don't even want to know what they burned. They used them in Vietnam, but they used them and tires. They burned tires. Definitely not good for your lungs. Service-connected disability, I just talked about that. Your disabilities have got to be linked to the service somehow. It doesn't have to be carrying a rifle, carrying a backpack. It could be playing softball. While you're in the service, you get into a car accident, you hurt your shoulder. That is a military benefit that you can take advantage of. And I want everybody here to spread the word. We do vocational rehab. Now, we work with Vet to Vet and the MHA next door. Fantastic. You guys got to come and see it. They got a weight room, or at least they're building a weight room. They've got a clothing distribution. They've got a food distribution. They've got yoga. There was yoga out in the parking lot yesterday. I was busy, and I didn't have sneakers on, so I couldn't do it. But they have program after program after program for everybody, man, woman, child, and whether you're retired or not, young or old, doesn't matter. Burial benefits. If you're burying somebody, which I hate to talk about, but to me that's a fact of life. If you're involved in a spousal burial, we will help you if there are if there are links to the military. We do the real property tax exemptions. They are allowed in Dutchess County. We look into your service record. Obviously, it's if you're service related. That's why we're calling it a veterans tax exemption. We'll help you file that. Well, if you've got a DD 214 that you can't read anymore because it's been thrown into the garbage too many times, or whatever, left out in the sun, we will get you a new one. Take 2 or 3 or 4 months, but we'll get you one. We have a favor discount fund program. It's the favor card. If you go online to the county, you'll find out what the favor card does. It's free. All kinds of discounts. All you got to do is show it. And the wife and the children, that came out wrong. The wife and the children are able to use that favor card too. We have the Tommy Zerhelen Fund. Tommy Zerhelen is another giant. He's about this big, got a beard. Yeah, right, well, it depends on your size. He's the guy that wanted to bring notice to veterans. I believe he started over in Washington and walked across country. Either that or he started in New York and walked all the way to Washington. But he did it in about 2015. There's a Veterans One Stop. We're Suite 2, it's Suite 3. I'm telling you, even if one of your kids is in the military, come on over. If you're related to anybody in the military, we want to see you. We want to talk to you. And last but not least, I want you to spread the word. Not only because I can't stop talking, but because there are fantastic programs available for all military families. We want to help active duty. We want to help retired. Currently, you need to be in the service most often for 2 years. 1 day of service, however, gets you into some programs. That's about it. Thank you very much for your time.
Does anybody have any questions?
Are there any questions? I was told to wait for questions.
Yes, wait for questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Pardon me?
What's your address?
I
need the address.
I've got a card.
Okay.
I've got cards. As a matter of fact, on my way out, and I don't want to hold your meeting up by being here, I'm going to leave them on a table outside. Cards and some pamphlets like this, Veteran Services Program, just about everything you want to know. And there's also information about PTSD. PTSD is not what you see in the movies. It's not the guy who got a rocket shot in the head. It's a guy who sees something, or a gal, definitely a gal. There's also military sexual trauma, which doesn't have to be rape. It can be harassment. It can be humiliation. All right. Now, all those things, they cause PTSD. I hate the phrase PTSD because it's not a disorder; it's a sickness. However, you can get it by seeing your dog get run over by a car. You can get it for anything. I got a phone call when I was working for the DAV at Castle Point. A woman called crying because her husband gets her out of bed about 3 or 4 times a week at 2:30 in the morning because they were under attack. And they came to see me, and he said everything was fine. She couldn't do anything about it because she's not the veteran. So if you know anybody in that situation, be nice. That's all I can say, be nice. Anybody else? Okay, I'm dry. Okay. I'm going to leave all my stuff out there on the table.
Kevin, you could leave it up here if you want.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
Sure
coming.
thing. I'll take my notes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great evening, and this is just an awesome meeting. It was so cool seeing so many people. We can only get 25 at a town of Wappinger meeting. Well, all right, 30.
We pay them well.
Oh, okay, all right. And you don't have pizza? Wow. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night. I'm just curious if I turn on the AC, if it's going to affect the, yeah. Can we turn on the AC, do you think? Yeah, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is to talk about the Stanford ambulance district, which we've discussed at other meetings, but we need to kick it into high gear now. I think I will, Dennis, do you want to make a short presentation?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Buhal, who's also Justice Buhal, is going to speak to us about the ambulance district.
All right, so I've been a member of the fire company since July of 1984. Been an EMT since 1988 and providing volunteer service. Talk about volunteerism. We need volunteers. Volunteer service to the community. Unfortunately, this community is no different than any other community. We don't have enough volunteers anymore. The ambulance, we have 2 ambulances down there that provide basic life support to the townspeople, and we can't get out because we don't have the EMTs anymore. So I just became a commissioner, the first part of this year, but the commissioners prior have been working very diligently with Northern Dutchess paramedics to provide a 24/7 basic life support ambulance for the town. All right, it's a very costly contract. All right, basically it's $1 million a year. Currently, the district budget's like $750,000 of that million, and then they bill customer or the people that use the service. If they have insurance, they'll pass the bill on and recoup some of their operating expenses through billing. All right, I was just reading the next contract, and they do not, I mean, if a person cannot afford or doesn't have insurance, they're not going to bill you. They're not going to beat down your door for it's still covered by district. All right, we approached the town about establishing an ambulance district because our attorney, the district attorney, fire district attorney, not the district attorney, has advised us that the fire district cannot legally contract for primary ambulance service for the town. It's illegal, can't do it. So we currently still have an ambulance, which never gets out. So we're kind of threading the line there a little bit. All right, so we approached the town, Wendy and Ann, about establishing an ambulance district. And what this would do, it would enable the town to take over basically the taxing purpose for the contract for the ambulance district. All right, that way the fire district tax line will dramatically go down to where it used to be for just the fire district, and then the ambulance district line would be picked up, the $750,000, so it would be a separate line item on your tax bill. The tax currently would not go up. The town tax isn't going up, the fire district tax would come down, but it'd be supplemented by the other line for ambulance district. currently, right now, we're in the process of signing a 6-month contract, because however it worked, it ends, or the current contract ends May 31st. So we wanted to get on an annual type contract. So we're signing a contract for June 1st through December 31st. And then it's right in the contract, we can just automatically re-up for an additional year and go that way. And basically, we're here trying to provide ambulance coverage for the town, which is, I mean, we need it. And I mean, how much is a life worth, you know? So, yeah.
Dennis, could you explain, because like you and Wendy have been like putting tons of hours and you've been working on this for a really long time. But I think for most people, like this is new to them. And when you say, you know, changes to the tax bill, people get nervous.
Well,
can you explain like what, if we don't do this, can you explain what the consequences are?
We can't not do this.
Right.
Because
Well,
we won't have an ambulance.
Right.
Right.
I guess that's what I kind of was getting
I mean,
to.
again,
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's an election year. Nobody wants to increase taxes. The taxes are not going up, all right, because the fire district already has, all right, I can't tell you what the budget is right now. It's over $1 million for the fire district budget, because almost 2/3 of that is for the ambulance coverage, Northern District paramedics. So basically, once the town establishes an ambulance district, the fire district budget will go back down to where it always used to be. It's around $400,000. And that's operating the fire trucks, training, you know, heating the firehouse, you know, in the wintertime. It's just basically general operating budget. The current Board of Commissioners have offered and approached the town board, because once you establish an ambulance district, you know, just like the Board of Fire Commissioners are elected, we serve 5-year terms, the ambulance district will need a board. So the current Board of Fire Commissioners have offered that we could be the advisory board if appointed by the town. So we already have 5 fire district commissioners, and if we were appointed the, like basically the overseer of the ambulance district, the advisory board, we would still do all the contract negotiations with NDP. You know, the contract probably wouldn't change much, other than, you know, instead of Stanford Fire District, would be Town of Stanford. The one big thing about it is the 2% tax cap.
Right.
All right? If the fire district budget is right here, and NDP decides, you know, they need to start paying their people more, which, believe me, EMTs and paramedics don't make much money at all. All right? So if they decide to jack up their rate, our 2% is a minuscule amount. Where on the flip side, if the town takes over the ambulance district, the overall town budget, the 2% tax cap is higher, and they would be able to absorb it into the ambulance district a lot easier. You know, so.
Well, I would present it slightly differently. If we actually didn't, the town tax will stay the same.
Correct, yep.
The ambulance, the fire district will come down
Yep.
to where it used to be, and one thing that's very beneficial is they were cutting things out of their budget that they need,
Yes.
so they could pay for the ambulance, and therefore they were cutting out vital things for the fire company to try to stay underneath the 2% tax cap.
Yep.
So by establishing an ambulance district, we're free to just have our budget be what it needs to be. They're free to have their budget be what it needs to be. And then the ambulance shows up as a separate line, and everybody in the town knows what they're paying for the
ambulance service.
For the service
Yep.
of having an ambulance in town. So it definitely seemed to be actually the only logical thing to do.
The only legal way to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why we're where we are today, where we're about to establish an ambulance district. Unless
People want to start volunteering and become EMTs and get up in the middle of the night like I always used to and go from there. But unfortunately, it's a sign of the times. Yes.
You have 8 students here that you can tell sell all the perks to, like the pension and uniforms and the dinner before meetings. I mean, you know, the camaraderie, the dance.
I'll let Miranda address that, seeing as she's our member.
Miranda's already in the company.
No, I tell you, it's a lot of camaraderie. You know, it's a calling. Like I said, I've been doing it since July of 1984. I get personal satisfaction of helping people. You know, it's life service, basically. Community service, and there's got to be something in here. You got to be willing to do the job, care about people, and, you know, here's a pager, can go off 24/7, and we go.
Okay, thank you.
One more question, one more thing. You also have education, and you train the people, right, to be EMSs or?
If a person joins the fire company, there's mandatory training, all right? Whether or not they go the fire route, or the EMS route, emergency medical services, EMT, whatever, or both. You know, I was an EMT since 1988. Mine lapsed in February of 2020. And not just because of COVID, but because I'm computer illiterate. And, you know, when you treat a patient, you write a PCR, pre-hospital care report, you tear a page off, hand it to the doctor when you bring the patient in. Now everything's a tablet. And I couldn't do it. I don't do it for a living. Yeah, and it's like, if we had better training on that, maybe, but I was done. I 32 years, as you know, so I put my time in.
Also, I think the problem is the training has become very, very time consuming. It's expensive.
Well, the expense is borne by the district,
but it's
and the state, you know.
But so it seems like there aren't a lot of people who are willing to go through that. It's very, very time consuming. Yeah?
The EMT class is all of 6 months. It's 2 nights a week, Saturdays, you know. So yeah, it's a big time commitment, and especially, I mean, the couple EMTs that we have, they were younger. They've started a family. So, and I've always said, family comes first, you know. But yeah, we need help. I mean, that's basically it. And if we can't get the volunteers to help, we need to pay. And you know, everybody has to share the load, one way or another.
Thank you, Commissioner Duncan.
I gotta go.
Yes.
I have to drive to Vermont. It's 3 hours.
Thank you for
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. So now we're going to go about, there's a lot of steps that we have to go through in order to create the district. A map has been prepared, which is basically all of Stanford. And then we have a plan and report about, which we have done, that we have filed with the town clerk. That was the first thing that we had to do. After filing that, we are going to adopt an order, which I have right here, which will allow us to then move forward and have a public hearing and do the public notices. And I think there's a permissive referendum we announce if anybody cares to get involved in not having the ambulance district. But, so this is what I should read this and we need to approve this, yeah?
Yes.
So the order. You have about 12.
Yeah, I have time.
Okay, good. In fact, Margaret, why don't you read it?
Sure. Thank you. Order of the Town Board of the Town of Stanford to establish an ambulance district. These take notice whereas a map, plan, and report relating to the establishment of proposed Town of Stanford ambulance district hereinafter the district, prepared in the manner in such detail as has been determined by this town board, has been duly filed with the town clerk in accordance with the requirements of Article 12A of the New York Town Law, and now therefore let it be ordered by the town board of the town of Stanford as follows. The descriptions of the boundaries of the proposed ambulance district shall be all of that portion of the town of Stanford, Dutchess County, New York, so as to include the limits of the entire town. The maximum estimated amount in the future years proposed to be expended annually by the town for such ambulance services paid for through the ambulance district raised through taxes shall be $800,000, which would impose a tax of $83.63 for the owner of a property assessed at $100,000. The map, plan, and report describing the proposed ambulance district is on file in the town of Stanford Town Clerk's office and is available for public inspection. The clerk of the town of Stanford shall provide the notice of a public hearing where all persons interested in the proposed ambulance district can be heard. Such public hearing shall be held during the meeting of the Town of Stanford Town Board on the day of
The next town board meeting?
Which will be June 8th.
June 8th, 2003, at 7 p.m. and the Town of Stanford Town Hall, located at 26 Town Hall Road, Stanfordville, New York. A copy of this order shall be published at least once in the official newspaper of the town, the first publication thereof to be not less than 10 nor more than 20 days before the date set therein for the hearing as aforesaid, and shall also cause a copy of this order to be posted on the sign board of the Town of Stanford, maintained pursuant to subdivision 6 of section 30 of the New York State Town Law, not less than 10 nor more than 20 days prior to the date of the public hearing. This order shall be entered into the minutes of the proceedings of the Town Board during the meeting held on May 11th, 2023. This constitutes the order of the Town Board of the Town of Stanford, Dutchess County.
Take a vote. Yes, we're going to do this roll call. Wendy Burton,
Yes.
Ann Aaron,
Yes.
Margaret Bowen,
Yes.
Nathan LaVertue absent, Corey Cunningham.
Yes.
Thank you. So that's great. We're on our way. And I have to thank the fire commissioners for volunteering to be the ambulance district commissioners. We didn't want to take on yet another project, and that we actually didn't know very much about, and they have volunteered to basically be our steering committee.
We'll be the advisory board, we'll bring everything to you for final decision because it's your tax money.
Right. So thank you and thank them. I do want to know, so when can we establish the commission?
I think it would be done after the resolution is approved for the district. And we need a local law to designate the commission.
I guess you better get on that one.
We will.
Thank you. Because then we need to have a public hearing for the local law, so. But we'll just do that afterwards, because we won't need them right away.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But it also, the paperwork from the lawyer also said that they all have to be, did Dennis leave? They can't, they all have to be up for reappointment every year, like at least one person on the board.
Yes,
Yeah,
the commission's up one person every year.
every year.
Yep.
Even though they're all going to be appointed at the same time since we're creating it.
Well, initially.
Will we just pick?
Who's running?
Current
Yeah.
board.
We could,
Well, you're not picking people, you're picking the board.
well, we
Right?
designate
Yeah.
the same people.
Right.
Yeah.
And they all have different terms, I assume, and we can.
But I'm
set
saying
up-
they're all starting at the same time, so how will we designate who, or whatever, we'll figure that
I
out.
think
We'll-
you just have to call it the fire commissioners and leave it at that, not people's names.
I think the solution is that the initial terms of the separate members will be of different lengths.
Yeah, well, it's 3 years, but they're
5
saying,
years.
I thought that what he said
Can we
was.
deal
yeah,
this with
We'll
Sorry,
be able to-
yeah, sorry.
We'll figure that out.
Thank you.
We'll
Okay.
do that.
I make a motion to welcome the fire company to use the Town Hall Memorial Park Town Hill for the 9/11 flag memorial again this year.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm
Aye.
sorry, Wendy made the motion, who seconded it?
We all did.
Just pick anybody.
Give it to me, Rita.
It's always
Rita, I'll take the credit.
Corey
I'll take
gets
you
it.
down.
Give it to Corey.
I'll
Give
take
it
the
to Corey.
credit.
Give it to Corey.
Down to your little.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all right. Okay, now I'm going to make a motion. For those of you who remember a month ago, we approved the purchase of 2 sheds for the rec department. One is to replace the very sad ticket booth that is at the parking lot, and the other is to replace the baseball storage shed, which is in splinters and by now. So we passed that motion with a price attached. And then the price went down because our rec director decided we didn't need windows in one of the buildings. So I need to make a motion to rescind Resolution 4C from April, which had the wrong dollar amount now. I make a motion to rescind that.
Second.
Margaret?
Got it. All in favor?
Aye. And now I make a motion, Resolution 5A of 2023, to transfer funds from the American Rescue Plan Funds account, New York class ending in 9, and move the funds to the general fund ending in 018. Whereas the town board of the town of Stanford has approved the purchase of an 8x8 shed to replace the storage shed at the rec park baseball field, as well as a 5x8 custom ticket booth to replace the old one at the rec parking lot. And whereas the New York class account ending in 09, American Rescue Fund account, contains funds for this purpose, and whereas the town of Stanford will transfer funds from the New York class account ending in 09 to the general fund ending in 018, now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is authorized to complete the following budget modifications and transfer the funds from the American Rescue Fund's account to the general fund, and this will be in the amount of $7,084. Second.
Wendy Burton,
Yes.
Ann Aaron,
Yes.
Margaret Fallon,
Yes.
Nathan McRitchie is absent, Corey Cunningham.
Yes.
Resolution 5B of 2023 to transfer funds from the Building Reserve Fund account, New York class ending in 06, and move the funds to the general fund ending in 18. So this was, the highway department had requested that we purchase a pole barn to replace the one that was basically given to the haunted fortress. So on the concrete pad in front of where the haunted fortress is, they want just a pole barn, literally the poles on the roof, so they can protect the buildings that don't fit in the vehicles that don't fit into the building. So we're going to take that money from the Building Reserve Fund as opposed to the American Rescue Plan Fund, because there is funds in the Building Reserve Fund for this purpose. Whereas the town board of the town of Stanford has approved the purchase of pole barn, including setup and delivery, for a total of $118,599. Whereas the New York class account ending in 06 building reserve account contains funds for this purpose. And whereas the town of Stanford will transfer funds from the New York class account ending in 06 building reserve account to the Millbrook general fund account ending in 18. Now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is authorized to complete the following budget modifications: transfer funds from the building reserve account to the general fund, and the amount is $118,599.
I second that.
Wendy Burton,
Yes.
Ann Aaron,
Yes.
Margaret Fallon,
Yes.
Nathan McRitchie absent, Corey Cunningham.
Yes.
And then the resolution 5C.
My turn to read.
Yeah. Read into the mic.
Do I get both?
Yeah, both.
Okay. Resolution 5C of 2023 to transfer funds from American Rescue Fund's account ending in 009 and move the funds to the general fund ending in 018. Whereas the town board of the town of Stanford has approved the purchase 15 picnic tables from Kirby Built for the recreation park. Whereas the New York class account ending in 09 American Rescue Fund account contains funds for this purpose. And whereas the town of Stanford will transfer funds from New York Class account ending in 09, American account to the Millbrook General Fund account ending in 018. Now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is authorized to complete the following budget modifications and transfer the funds from the American Rescue Funds account to the general fund, and that is the amount of $17,952.14.
I second that.
Okay. Wendy Burton? Yes. Van Aaron?
Yes.
Margaret Allen?
Yes.
Nathan Virtue absent. Gordon Cunningham?
Yes.
Now, Rita, you asked me and I said I would happily do this. Oh, here it is. Margaret's going to make a motion to proclaim the first week in May Municipal Clerks Week, the 54th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, in honor of the wonderful town clerks throughout the county, but specifically in Stanford.
Okay. Whereas municipal clerks throughout the United States, Canada, and other countries will celebrate the 54th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week on the first full week of May, and whereas in 1984 and in 1994, Presidents Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton, respectively, signed a proclamation officially declaring Professional Municipal Clerks Week the first full week of May, and recognizing... I'm reading about Rita Meredith. And recognizing the essential role municipal clerks play in local government. And whereas, although it is one of the oldest positions in local government, few people realize the vital services municipal and deputy clerks perform for their community. Primarily, they act as the cornerstone of their council. Many serve as financial officers or treasurers, and in some municipalities, they also serve as the tax collector. Typical responsibilities of the municipal clerk and deputy clerk: maintains the official council minutes, ordinance books, and all records and documents, indexes all official actions of council, issues licenses and permits, processes contracts and agreements, keepers of community history and vital records, receives, distributes, and files correspondence from citizens and other governmental agencies, assists with elections, registration and voting, acts as a key liaison between local government and its citizens, handles significant financial responsibilities, including preparation of tax rolls, special assessments and budgets, provides central services such as personnel, purchasing, etc. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the first full week of May each year be proclaimed as Municipal Clerks Week in the town of Stanford.
I second it.
Whoa! Corey.
I'm very thankful for you, Rita.
Thank you.
As we are, Rita.
Thank you.
Rita.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Aaron?
Yes.
Margaret Allen?
Yes.
Nathan Virtue absent. Gordon Cunningham?
Yes.
Thank you.
May
Of
I-
course, we're a week late.
May I apologize for interrupting? My concern was that
It was
this
the
is
second week already, I know, that was my concern too.
Next year.
This year, we'll have to celebrate
Let-
the second week.
Yeah, we'll do the second week.
Bob, you have to go right on the chalkboard. I will not interrupt.
I'll stand in the corner.
Thank you for thinking of me.
Okay, now some really quick orders of business. I'm going to do A, B, C, and D. I would like to make a motion to appoint Lou Cassiano as the chair of the Office of Emergency Management.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We've already set dates for the public hearing on the ambulance district, didn't we?
We're doing it just the regular,
It's right, but we set the date.
Right.
Yes.
The next town board
Didn't you
meeting.
tell me today the comprehensive plan?
Oh, that's right, the comprehensive plan. We need to, but you know, Tom Angel wrote to me and said we should get the approval from the county before we do the public hearing.
I'll review the procedure. Shall I review the procedure and report back to you?
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
that should be, we made the changes they asked us to make.
We made more changes too, so I think just to make sure that every dot is dotted.
I have a long flow chart on that 2 years ago, or 3, whenever it was.
Right.
And it's a complicated procedure. There are a lot of steps to it and time periods.
So just let us know.
I'll review that.
Thank you.
So the ambulance district public hearing is set.
Yes, and we're not going to set the public hearing right now. Just wanted everybody to know, we hope this is paid for by CHIPS money, but it's going to be an expensive fix for the culvert pipe at Hicks Hill and Bull's Head. Like, it could be over $100,000. Jim is frantically trying to get the state quotes for that, and hopefully CHIPS will pay for it. We have to front the money for it. Then CHIPS comes in. And then I would just like to make a motion that the board approves of the Dutchess County Mobile Health Unit be stationed at the lower parking lot on Community Day to offer services to the citizens of Stanford.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. This mobile health unit, which Dee Barrett just unveiled in Millerton, and seems to take up an entire city block. It's just enormous. And the things that the services they provide, teaching about Narcan, substance abuse, tick-borne illnesses. They can do vaccines, they can do blood pressure, they can do mental health counseling, and there's follow-up. So it's not like a person wanders in and gets told they have a bad blood pressure condition and then there's no follow-up. They actually are going to be setting up follow-through. So it's a wonderful addition to the whole county, and what I'm pushing for now is to get them to put together a schedule, so with regularity the people of Stanford know that the mobile health unit will be in town on the 5th Wednesday of every month or something. It'll take a little while to get that in place because they're just boots on the ground right now, but I think it's going to be a terrific asset to all the communities, and especially to the rural ones such as ourselves. Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Is that a cost-free situation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of April 13th. Second. Margaret got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
And then approval of the abstracts, number 5 for May. The general fund was $142,824.81, but $66,000 of that is from the building reserve fund for a partial payment on the pole barn. Highway fund was $29,631.36. Bank of Lights was $921.22. I think those bills are actually coming down, and I think it's because of the LED lights.
Yeah.
Like maybe $1,000.
Yeah. And then the escrow, which is $1,505.74.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay then, so we've come to the second privilege of the floor. If anybody has a question, oh, I see a hand shoot up. Hello! Please just come to the podium and state your name and address. And you were hiding back there, Stacy.
I was, because I couldn't be on time. But now everybody knows that. It's not my strong suit, actually. So my name is Stacy Adams. I live at 69 Mills Lane. This is just a friendly reminder. Everybody has now received their assessment letter in the mail. So the Board of Assessment Review will be meeting on May 23rd, right in this very room, from 1 to 3 and 7 to 9. And we would welcome anyone who would like to come and chat, or at least read their assessment.
And do you remember, because I put it in one newsletter and now I've forgotten it, but you can go to the town website, and on a certain day last year, Stacy gave a presentation about how to prepare to grieve your assessment. Do you happen to remember?
Yes, so you can, if you would like to grieve your assessment, you can go to the town website, and it's listed in the section under committees, and it's pretty well outlined there. So that's one place to access the information. Enclosed with your assessment letter was a secondary page that Steve provided that gave you some basic information about that. But I think more specifically to your question or your point was, you can go back to an old town board video and you can listen to it in great detail where I make many mistakes about the difference between your assessment and your taxes. And you can, but despite that fact, you can then hear how that process actually works. That, I think, was aired in March or April. I can look that up.
I would just stick it in next week's or this week's.
Because when it was in one of the newsletters more recently, a couple of months ago,
right,
the link was to, I think, a June meeting, but not the meeting where we actually did it. So you kind of had to go back a little bit in the recordings to find it.
Oh.
So, but there's a lot of recordings, so the links, you know, there's lots of link choices.
Okay.
So, anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Stacy. Anybody else? Yes?
Again, my name is Jim King from 176 Charwell Drive. Two things. One is, at the last meeting I came to, which was 2 months ago, I asked that the members of the board visit the construction company on Charwell Drive. I was curious if any of you had.
I've been up there.
I know Corey had said.
I've been up there as well.
I live on Charwell.
I live on High.
I live down the street from you.
Okay. Did you go and visit the
Yes.
the operation? Okay.
I have not.
Okay. And Mr. Attorney, I asked if you looked into the legality of the operation at all. Have you had the opportunity to do that?
We've been researching it, yes.
Okay.
And I'm communicating with the town board on it.
Okay. The one thing I would like to is that this, for the last 2 years, what has been told to me as the justification for this is the quote contractor's yard. And like I said, I had an attorney go through this with me. The contractor's yard is just an explanation of what that word means. In no way, form is it is in the usage within any districts, especially in the rural residential area. So by saying that this is okay, and I know that the town sent a letter to the
The town did not send a letter.
well, the building department
inspector
did, excuse me. It's not a contractor's yard. It's not simply a yard where you've got a bunch of stuff. This is a major manufacturing operation going on, a major construction activity. And I can't stress that enough, because every time I talk to a member of the building department, it's just, well, it's a contractor's yard. Well, contractor's yards do not belong in the rural residential. And if you keep that in mind when you're looking through these things, and if you read in the zoning laws, you will see that. So just please don't just glance over that and take the word of someone who's supposed to know what's going on. Okay, I thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, Chris.
Hello, I'm Chris Drago, 1212 Huns Lake Road. I just want to thank the town board and the fire department for taking a leadership role to really proactively think about what the right thing to do in terms of emergency service is, rather than passing the buck. It's really taking a hard look at a basic need for our community and finding a way to make sure that that basic need is met for the citizens of our town. I wish our county administration would take a similar role in terms of thinking proactively about not just what our town needs, but what our towns need, what our county needs. There are other counties in New York State that are taking a leadership role in terms of emergency service. Columbia County, just north of us, for example, does this. There is no reason why Dutchess County can't do something similar. Emergency service is such just the most basic of services that everyone in our town should be able to count on. It should not be a liability to live where we live, and right now, it is. If you call 911, you don't know what could happen. You don't know how long you're going to wait, and our volunteers are doing the absolute best they can, and they need help, which is why I'm thanking the town for taking the leadership role that you are, but I would like to see our county government administration do the same. Our county administration, end of last year, the very last minute, snuck through $25 million improvement to luxury suites at the minor league baseball park in the southern part of the county. There is surplus in our county budget that can be used for things like emergency service. That's surplus was used for luxury suites on a minor league baseball park. I just can't believe that happened. In full transparency, I'm running for county legislature to represent our town and District 19. I'm doing that because I want to fight to make sure that our tax dollars are going to things like emergency service, which is something that all of us should be able to count on as the most basic thing, based on where we live. And just a reminder, this is a local election year. Irrespective of what party you are, I hope that everyone participates. Starting May 16th, we have a school board election. Then in June 17th to the 25th, and then the 27th, we have a primary. And then in November, we have our general election. A lot of times people don't think to vote in these non-presidential years. But this is a year that matters a lot for all of us. And please show up and get involved. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Anyone else? Okay, Margaret?
Oh, I would like to pass a resolution to end the meeting.
Pass a
Pass
resolution.
a resolution. I don't know what I'm sorry. Past my bedtime. Motion. Yeah, motion.
Second, please. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you all for coming. Very much appreciated. Your papers don't